All right, there we go. Starting broadcast. We are activated. We are live. So, hello, internet. Say hello to the internet. Everyone, say hello, internet.
What up?
All right, this is another Paradigm Shift Radio after party hangout, and yeah, we're already getting into the conversation. Just passing it back off. Joel and Nikolai were just talking about the benefits of taking hikes out in nature. How that can be a very releasing thing for us. So, Nikolai, you were in the middle of like sharing a story or something like that.
Yes, I was just saying like you know how beautiful, like you ever look at trees and just you know you just you get like astonished by the beauty of it, and not only the beauty of it but the process of just the photosynthesis of the plant or of the tree itself, and you see how it's like it has its own unique personality, and it's like it's growing, and it's so unique that no other tree has that same pattern, and like I totally like, I don't know, it's like really when you focus on that and just like it's kind of like when you look at also like people and you see how different of a pattern they have, you start and you definitely like you see basically that nature, like tree and plants and like humans have the same kind of like uh, how do call that, like this like moment, this connection, they you share it with nature,
Hey, Nikolai.
Hey, how's it
Welcome
going?
back.
Maybe.
Hey, Joel. Joel. I mean, it's been a long time I ever get to see you guys. I've been running like crazy nowadays. Like a lot of classes going, and I was teaching a class way before Skull was doing his paradigm shift, and I was like, oh my god.
That's good, man.
Yeah,
You're
man.
keeping
I'm busy.
yourself busy. That's good to
I'm
hear.
taking, no, like, you want to know how busy I went? I was taking 6 college classes with 18 credit hours.
Wow. So you're like a full-time student, basically, huh?
Yeah, I'm about to get straight A's in class. I was like, last semester I got 2 A's and 1 B, and I was like, yes!
Oh, congrats, man. That's good.
What do you guys want to talk about?
I'm planning to go and study and then go work for 1 or 2 years, get my degree at age 24, like my bachelor's, and then go on and get my PhD, my doctorate.
Andy, not to take the limelight for a second, but Brandon, in response to your question, we're talking about nature, and one of the things also that I was talking about with friends today when we were on our long hike was an observation of how nature is so wonderful at taking care of itself. That the earth knows what it needs to do when it needs to do it. Just observing the cycles of nature through the seasons via the elliptical orbit of the planet and all that. Because some of the people were talking about how you have people that rise to different, perceived challenges in the world, like mass animal farming production or oil, whatever the topic might be. And it just kind of really came out like a blur that because the world knows how to take care of itself, when people get really caught up in any particular issue that might be happening in the world, I think people either forget or don't realize that within the nature of the universe that we live in, the dualistic nature, it's designed that way for us to have this experience of contrast. And for example, I always tell people that why do you have the rise of veganism, for example? It's because you have such an extreme that occurred with then like factory farming of animals and the crazy proportions of meat that people eat. So then you have people, so you have these kinds of extreme responses to balance out the equation. So this balancing happens on all spectrums, but within nature itself, it's yeah, it's like that whole save the planet syndrome that sometimes people get really lost in. just to realize that it's really nothing more than another opportunity for experiencing contrast. And that's all it is. To get overly worked up and caught up in dealing with the problems or the symptoms or the issues, it's really a reflection of what are the issues and symptoms you're dealing with yourself. Because if we find peace and we stop conflicting with each other, really what we need to work on here is the human condition itself, not save the planet, save the whales, and don't cut those trees down. It's like, if you want to have that experience, go have it, but it's probably going to be more turmoil than you need. So.
Totally. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, I mean the like you said, the human condition right now is in a very it's complexifying itself. We're becoming a very we're changing, we're evolving, and our the human mind itself is so whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing that at one point, you just really can't explain it, you know. And I feel like the only way you could express it, and then the best setting, is in nature. So because it's a very, like, just think of all, like, the molecules that make up a tree or a plant, or just think of it. And not only those molecules, those molecules help us kind of live. And I had this, like, epiphany, like, quite, like, 2 years ago, where I was just walking in the park, and I just without plants we wouldn't be able to live. I mean, it's really we really depend on them.
Yeah, they're one of our closest connections to to the sun, to the prime source of energy for this planet. And
Yeah.
what you were saying before about admiring the trees for their unique aspects, and it's not just the trees; it's the how everything sort of feeds off each other. I mean, even going beyond the fact that you have the seasons change, where fall, literally, you have things falling off the trees so that they decompose and act as the fuel to bring on the next generation, to bring fertile soil. Like, you also see like fungi, like mushrooms growing off of trees, and so nature spares nothing. Everything gets used and everything has its place, and that's really a nice thing to remember when we might get caught up in, again, another judgment, thinking that something is bad or toxic, or especially if you go like a provincial park and you see these stay on the path, so you might encounter this plant or that plant, and you might get these symptoms. It's like warning signs of don't go do this, to diminish our true expression of freedom and enjoyment, right? But just go out there and do it and experience it, because that's what it's there for us, as the unique organisms that humans are, with the ability to choose, to go and experience that. And because all these plants will give us wonderful experiences, and I'm not even talking about like fancy plants. I'm just talking about common herbs and weeds and things that you see growing in your backyard, or that you see growing in the forest. It's like I love being able to, when I go on walks with people, and just point out, like, hey, you know what that is, and just pick it up, and I'll sample it first so they can see it's nothing going to be hurting you, and try this out, and they're like, oh wow, that's really good. I'm like, yeah, you eat stuff like this, go and harvest something from your local neighborhood or whatnot. It'd be a surprise if you actually dedicated a little bit of time to this, how it can simplify it, because that's what nature does. Nature simplifies. Humans complicate. Everything we need is right there, for the most part. If you live in a city, that's not exactly a natural domain, so granted, that's a lot more challenging. But just the importance of being out in nature and take advantage of that, especially as here in Canada, we only have half the year to take advantage of the green stuff. So I really become a little envious of you guys who live in climates that, for the most part, all year round, you can be out in t-shirt and.
Yeah, totally. No, dude, it's like so hot right now in California, and it's like already fall.
Yeah, it was the same way here. I'm in Orlando, and it's very hot, and it's always spring.
I don't want to hear any of it.
Oh, Bonnie, you loved it. You loved
103
it.
degrees every single day. So yeah. I'm sorry. There was my 2 cents.
But it's always green here. I love it. It's a great place, and you know, but I want to change. I want season. I'd like to see. I like to see the whole foliage change and everything else like that because I think that's important. But
And at least you're lucky, AJ, because to be honest, it's like hell over here.
Hey, it's not really like hell. Okay, I have something that I'm wanting to say, but I'm waiting for the right time. So, Andy, do you really think it's like hell? Do we have beautiful springs that you can go jump in? Do you ever go to the springs, Andy?
Wait.
There's Barton
Oh,
Springs.
Never mind. Yeah, I do. I've been to springs. But most likely I practice Qigong near the springs. So it's hot as hell for me.
Well, it's just hot in like my room, but that's only because my window faces west. So besides that, it's not that bad. But that's me, you know.
So
Because I don't know about you, Bonnie, but like when I practice Qigong out in this weather, I was like, this is a bad idea because first off, I was like burning hell.
What if hell's cold though?
Andy,
Cold?
I don't know if there's a temperature with hell.
Yeah, cold hell.
is there like anything particular that we're talking about right now, or can I briefly share about the vision I had
Go for it, Bonnie.
Tony's making
of the authentic relating games? So I got trained in authentic relating game facilitation, and some of you guys, we did a couple of the games, you know, the Guru game and the Shadow game, and I realized so I ended up doing this other training, and part of the stipulation of the training is that you have to bring authentic relating games to a community, and I already had started bringing it, you know, to you guys when we played the Guru game, and I knew that went over really well.
Oh, that was fun.
Why don't we just do this online? So it's kind of cool because actually, like, people have played the authentic relating games online, but not really. So I'm kind of making like a curriculum, like for Google Hangouts. Some of them have to be tweaked around a little bit to make them doable online, but a lot of them you can do. So I'm trying to figure out what night people would be interested in doing something like that, and it's really fun. They're games that get you to open up and be in the present moment with other people being in the present moment, and it's really just like being human with other humans and opening up and creating connection in an authentic way. And you don't have to do a whole lot because the games kind of like walk you through it all, so it's not like...
Oh, like when you say games, like these aren't like video games, but rather like social game. Can you give us an example?
Yeah, there's social games. There's a lot of different kinds of games, ranging from like pairs or groups to small groups. I guess with us, we'd have to keep it with the small group. But so, like an example of a game that went over really well that we played here one night on a Google Hangout was the Guru game. Yeah, so the Guru game is where one person for, I can't remember the time, I'll have to look up the time, but it's like you set a timer for 5 minutes, let's say. And for that 5 minutes, that person is the guru. So they know everything. And you can ask them, and then everybody else, it's everybody else's job to ask them any kind of question, and that person answers as if like they were a guru, as if they held all the answers of the universe. And so it's just interesting to like hear the different questions that come up and kind of invoke your inner guru, you know. And it's funny how at first you're like, well, I don't know anything, I don't want to be the guru. And then all of a sudden people start asking you questions and like you're answering, I'm answering them, and I don't even realize that this part of me existed, that I had this like ability to be able to answer as a guru, or to, and so a lot about recognizing different parts of yourself too.
What a great self-esteem building exercise too.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
There's a lot of other ones that are self-esteem building exercises, but so then after the time's up, then the next person goes. So it's important to let everybody get a chance to be the guru, and that's just one game example. And so everybody would say a question. You just kind of spit questions out at the guru. So you'd be like, "Oh, guru, why is the sun yellow?" or whatever, And that's just one of the examples of the game.
All right, Joel's it. Called it. Joel's it.
Are we gonna just do it right now?
Might as well.
Quick
round, lightning round.
Oh, Guru, why do people
Okay, here's
pass
the
gas?
important part. You have to set the timer because it's not fair otherwise. So let me get my phone. And
I
Joel,
can't wait. I
are you
love
okay with
this
this?
game.
Is
I'm
Joel
just
okay
messing
with
with you,
this?
Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Anyone's not okay with it?
wait, I can't find my phone. So if somebody else has a timer, I can find my phone though. It'll just take me one more second.
So I'd like to
Hey, do you want me to do the timer?
Call out who's next, or does it just happen organically, the process? Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, it kind of just.
I
Yeah,
can't
kind
wait.
of just like whoever picks it first, and I guess they go first. That's what I remember.
Oh,
It's just
oh
kinda
yeah,
random.
and so the guru doesn't have to say, it doesn't have to necessarily make sense even. It can be anything that comes from the guru's heart.
I like that.
Yeah. And you want to embody the role of this guru. So before we actually start the guru, we take a moment to do a breath and a couple breaths and allow the guru to like drop in to your guru-ness. And then you can open your eyes and we'll ask you questions. I guess 5 minutes would be a good time. I have to look up the time in the book, but I don't have the book on me right now. So, yeah, okay. Let's just do 5 minutes for the guru. That sound okay? Because if we want everyone to go, we actually might need to do like 3 minutes for the guru.
Considering there's 10 of us, maybe just do it 2 minutes.
No, I've done 2 minutes and it's a tease.
We'll stick with 5 minutes. Stick with 5 minutes just for the first one. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, we'll test it out. We're like this is uncharted territory, everybody.
Yeah.
When I told my group about authentic relating games online, they were like, oh, "Bonnie, you're a genius. You should totally do that." Okay, timer, stopwatch. Okay, timer, 5 minutes. We'll just test it out. Are you ready, Joelle? Does everybody understand the game? Cool. So we're going to ask Joelle questions as if he is the all-knowing guru. And so you start the sentence stem as, "Oh, great guru," or "Oh, guru." So we'll take a moment just to close our eyes. And if you're the guru, you can imagine dropping into this space and connecting with that inner guru. Actually, everyone can go ahead and connect with the inner guru. But if you're not the guru right now in this part, take this moment to think of what questions would you ask a guru if they were right in front of you? What do you generally want to know? What are you authentically curious about?
Okay, I probably wouldn't ask about gas.
Okay, we'll just take this next 10 seconds to drop into this space. And when we open our eyes, we will be in the presence of the guru, and we are able to ask any question that we desire to know.
Cho tao mượn cái headphone, trời đất ơi, nãy giờ tao nói 4 lần mà mày không nghe hả?
All right, Who was the first
Oh,
question?
great guru. Okay, wait, let me start the timer. Oh, 10:33, everybody.
10:33.
Starting. It's popcorn style, so you just shout your question out. Okay, ready, go.
Oh, great guru, what question is love the answer to?
Love is the answer to the force within your heart, the reason you are here, and what you are imparting for others as your legacy.
Oh, great guru, what is the secret to happiness?
The secret to happiness is to find out that every moment is perfect unto itself. It's when you begin to realize that you free yourself from the prison of expectation, that you recognize every experience as abundant, as joyful, and from that you can only bridge from there and expand by including others in your experience and become the co-creator of your experience, being present in each moment because it'll never come again. So it'll always be an experience within you.
Come on, guys, you gotta have your questions ready.
That's great.
You're right.
We have taken more drop-in time.
Oh, great guru, what is the true meaning of humility?
Humility is to accept the imperfection or the perfection of your imperfection. It is to step out of the way and to allow yourself to experience the fullness of everything you encounter. That means to accept full responsibility for your actions. It means that you are at the mercy of God. That's what it means. It's really the beginning to experience your connection to the divine. It's to be humble. That's where it starts, and this practice becomes easier the more that you agree to take responsibility for your own actions, your own thoughts, and never rest blame on anyone else.
Oh, great guru. I need to Are you guys getting feedback?
Go ahead. It was just Andy. I had him muted though.
Oh, great guru, what is the most effective technique? How do you be present in the moment?
Think with something that is tangible to you. For many people, that could be the breath. So, and whatever you're doing, just take a pause, literally a timeout, whatever you're doing, and just breathe in and notice yourself breathing in. And this might not work right away, so what you need to do is just keep doing that process until you actually recognize, oh wow, okay, so I am in control of my breath here in this moment, and I can take a deeper breath. And this is one way to begin to channel the principle of being present. Because what's being present all about is to be recognizing that you are creating your reality in the moment. So you can appreciate everything you create as a masterful artist that you are. So use this technique to bring awareness to any moment where you feel ungrounded and disconnected. And think of it as a good reminder not only to oxygenate your body, vitally important, but also to stabilize yourself in the chaos that's surrounding you and that brought you to need this reminder.
Oh, great guru, how do you create connection with people around you?
Well, on a common level, you would do this by building rapport with the person, finding a common base. But to take it up a notch,
30 seconds.
Funny.
All right, I won't finish that stream then.
No, okay.
Oh,
I'm gonna
great guru. Oh, wait.
You'll finish.
Oh, great guru. How did you become upon a sense of awareness and become exactly what you become now?
That's time, but we can finish this question.
It's your birthright to have that. So it is inevitable that you will encounter the catalyst that will trigger you to recognize this degree of awareness. When that happens, it's then up to you to decide if you want to fully walk through that door that you opened and embrace the possibilities that come from that kind of spiritual exploration.
I have a question for you.
Oh my
All right,
goodness.
no, Andy,
Andy.
get it together.
Get
Get it together, bro.
I am so
It's not Luke Skywalker.
Let me just say that was really awesome,
That was
Joelle.
fun.
You
Good job,
had
bro.
Yeah, Joel, I like it.
And wait, I have a question for him.
Time's up.
Too late.
The cool thing, the one thing that we learned through Authentic Relating Games is that we are all like geniuses and we can all do that outside of the game. So when time runs up and you still want to ask someone a question, like just remember that we're living in a world where we can connect with people right now. So feel free to, outside of this container, ask the question that you wanted to ask to that person.
You know, this
And
particular game, this particular game feels like it would be really beneficial, or rather have its peak impact from a really intimate group. Like 10 people, I think would be way too much to really.
I agree.
Because like
Yeah.
even the 5 minutes, it doesn't. That's like maybe just the amount of time it might take to get comfortable into that connection that you're okay with the fact that you have this person and that person and this person coming at you, and so you stabilize yourself within that beginning, and then I was starting to feel actually more as going into it that the experience becomes more connected. Like I actually take a moment to step back and be like, oh, I'm not know-it-all, and actually become a stream for consciousness to come through. And as we were progressing, more and more.
I miss you, Joel. I miss you.
Right, and I think that actually this game does go. I'm looking up the rules right now. I'm finding them, but it is usually a smaller group of people, and it is I think like 10 minutes for like 4 people at once. But I'm kind of doing this like we're breaking new grounds here and trying to do it on a Google Hangout with 10 people. So I do need to go through the Authentic Relating Games and like figure out which ones I think would be best for a group of people like this.
I think that this was good, and I think that Joel, I miss you so much. Like I really do, and your input, and it's really good. And I'm glad to be able to connect with you tonight.
Aww.
Oh, same here. I haven't seen Joella. I haven't seen. It's been a minute.
It's been a long time. It's been way too long. To be honest with you.
I knew something was missing.
Hello. Hello.
We all write
even like minutes would be good, because then you could really like have time to drop into your guru.
I mean, it's really like I mean, like a person, like their higher self kind of speaking through, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. It's like a form of channeling almost.
It is. And one thing I really learned that's important for that is prior to entering into that kind of exercise, whatever it may be for, to actually ask for that, to ask your divine highest self, your divine highest intelligence. The words that I like to use are, please download for me the priority pathway to be able to deliver to this person what they need to hear from me, or stream through me. That's for their highest and best interest and the highest good. And just to really consciously activate that stream rather than just let it arbitrarily, develop in its own timing.
Yeah, and with a group of people like this, I could do something like that. When we're in authentic, the way I've been trained, is a little different. So it's just, since this is like specifically a conscious community, we could.
I do have a question, and maybe not even a question. It's something that I've
Oh,
stumbled upon. Okay, if there's another form of discussion that needs to be spoken upon, go ahead. But
can I just to like if we're not gonna play another with another person, like if someone else wants to keep going, it's fine. But if we don't want to play anymore, then it's important to do sharebacks, which is just where we meta communicate. So we basically, what did that feel like for you to be the guru, Joel? And then we would take sharebacks from like, what did it feel like for us to be asking questions, and just take 2 minutes to do that, so we can have some like closure. But if we're gonna keep playing the game, then we don't have to do that right now.
We
I
can
really
continue
want to keep
playing the
playing.
game if people want to, and then I think having that closing about how it impacted us and what our experience was, both as a one asking questions and one as receiving, the questions, would definitely be a nice concluding piece for it.
Okay, go ahead and finish talking, AJ.
no, well, the one thing that has been shown to me in recent times is Saint Germain and the Violet Flame, and I wanted to know if anybody else had any comments. I don't know if anybody knows about it, but I've done a little bit of research, and the Violet Flame is pretty awesome, and I just wanted to see if anybody else knew about it or
I've heard of Saint
had
Germain.
any. Yeah, he was pretty awesome, and basically an ascended master, almost like you would view Christ or Gandhi or anybody else to that nature. But one of the things that he sort of figured out was that he figured out the violet flame, which is a sense of spirituality on a different level, almost uh, connecting you to the spirit world, and doing specific acts to it's spiritual alchemy basically, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. But I didn't know if anybody knew about it or had any awareness of it and what their input would be on that.
How would you explain it to a fifth grader?
This is how I would explain it to a fifth grader. There was a person that did live, and he was a humble person, and he lived in, I want to say, uh, the 16th century, if I'm not mistaken. And
I think
he
so.
was, it's something somewhere around there, and he was a gesture to a lot of kings and queens and understood certain things. And one of them was how to be able to transition uh, whatever basically you want to do, whatever your intent is, whatever it is that you want, you can gain that, but you have to figure out what you want to do and direct it in that state. It was just I don't know. It's very I'm new to reading up on it. It's something that I just stumbled upon, and things just keep coming like by and by. They keep laying on my heart, and it keeps being brought up into my awareness. So it's like I said, I want to learn more. So I was just interested in wanting to know if anybody else knew anything about it. Outside of that, because I've been doing
We just
some
totally
research.
in the Archangels and Ascended Masters book, during
Right.
Virtue, I mean, it's basically a book of just where she gives the deity and the archangels and such that you can work with, but
Right.
also like what they told her, because she's been like a lifelong clairvoyant, and
Right.
she does go into Saint Germain, but Saint Germain is kind of a saint, like I don't really know where he's from. Like, because it has a list, like, from these, like, some of these are from Judeo-Christian, some of these are from Jewish, text and such, and it seemed like Saint Germain was more I don't know if New Age is the word.
But he was but he was in that time frame. I guess you could.
Is he basically?
That would make sense.
He works a lot with the I am as well. The I am presence. The I am. The new. It's just understanding that we are the full consciousness of what we were created by. He definitely was a little bit more deep than I think a lot of. He goes into much
a lot
more.
Of the saints.
Well, right, exactly. It was more on a metaphysical level than it was it was tied into spirituality, but it was existentially different from the Judeo-Christian religion. So
that's true.
That's.
I'm looking at while you were talking, I was looking at the Violet Flame thing online, and there's this little thing here, snippet in this page. It's called Violet Flame Decree of Forgiveness, and if this is in any way reminiscent of what he stood for or what he founded, it's just a short line. It says, "I am forgiveness acting here, casting out all doubt and fear, setting man forever free, with wings of cosmic victory. I am calling in full power for forgiveness every hour. To all life in every place, I flood forth forgiving grace." You know, I really take from that.
That's good. That's good.
You have to listen to it with your heart. It's
beautiful. That's beautiful.
When I look at like something, what seems to me like the embedded meaning behind that is a very common message across very many both healing modalities as well as spiritual teachings, and it's it's a subject I mentioned earlier. It's about self-responsibility, and humility, right? To recognize whatever seemingly imperfections we've acted upon and causing harm or whatever, to simply take responsibility for that and own our experience. Because that's how we claim our full power. It's that initial keyhole to get into the higher connections that are available to us. We can't access that if we're too caught in our personal dramas. So it's just an elaborate way of getting us to do that, to go through that clearing process. That's what it seems like to me. And Saint Germain, it seems like many saints, they have their own words, their own wish, their own visualizations, their own mantras of being able to kind of say the same thing. But these were enlightened people that went through that process really deeply and committedly to come out the other side. And this is just like seems like this is another way of delivering that same fundamental message about how we can ourselves ascend to be our own, ascended masters.
I actually want to add something to that. You really brought up an interesting point. And, I wanted to add that, there is really human beings. There's nothing more powerful than an interaction with another human being. No religion, no belief system, nothing more powerful than just the interaction of just the presence of another human being. Because human beings are we're from for the millennia we've been generating novelties out of our consciousness, and I feel as if I feel as if there's just this will never change. I mean, we'll always be and we will never kind of like express that fully, this feeling for other human beings, like this, if I'm sitting, with someone and I'm interacting with someone and I am feeling her emotions and she's feeling my emotions, and you're never, it's something like I could try to describe that experience, but really it's such a powerful experience. It's more
Yeah.
powerful than any experience you could get from, I don't know. Uh, that's from my personal experience, but
It's
This
hard
is
to put it
where
in
words
words.
fall short, right? It's where words fall short, and it becomes that having that empathic connection is
yeah,
becomes a much more really natural way for us to connect, because isn't that what we do when we're in an intimate relationship? We
mhm,
observe, we feel, we sense the presence and the habits of the one that we're with, and then able to anticipate their needs and do those special kind acts and whatnot that really you don't find in a more regular friendship level, because you don't spend that much time together. You're maybe not so close and intimate. So yeah, words just fall short of describing these things. And so when any
True.
guru, sage, or ascended anyone puts forward a message with words, it's just those are the words or the imagery that they were able to use or that came to them to express through. And then it
yeah,
always leaves it open for subjective interpretation on part of the person receiving that information. So
mhm, yeah,
I think words are just, they're important, but I really think, like, have you guys ever had an experience that was just so profound that it's like, it feels silly to try and write how the experience was? It's like you could write it, but it would kind of take away from, I guess, the glory you'd say, or the enlightening moment. Because as soon as you start trying to write down what you feel, you slowly begin saying, well, the feeling just kind of starts fading away in a sense. Does that make sense?
mm. Could you try to like elaborate? I think I understood.
It's like you have such a profound experience. Hang on, man. And you had such a profound experience that it's just like putting it into words, almost you just start feeling like that moment of enlightenment that you felt in the present moment. By the time you start trying to put it into words, it's like, well, this is not necessarily how do I express this? How can I
Yeah,
write
I
this? If
yeah,
that
I
makes
mean
sense.
that's the only thing you can do is express yourself to the fullest. Because once you express yourself to the fullest like that, even though it might never be always accurate, but whether you express yourself through means of poetry or you express yourself through scientific terms, or you express yourself in musical terms. You know, the more you see when you find that those insights, what you're talking about, and I actually do feel that it's not really outside. Those insights are not really outside you. It's all in you because you're generating your own reality. You're finding these insights in you, and once you find these beautiful insights, once you try to express those insights to someone, I feel like you just have to improve those insights with really rich knowledge, and that rich knowledge could be found in a lot of places. It's definitely like a very beautiful thing. Just if you start like just like expressing like like yourself like that, it's just
Mm-hmm.
you will go like somewhere where like no one could really like you would go in such an uncharted territory that you would actually I feel like you will benefit humanity immensely, or you could harm it. It's really up to you. Knowledge is power, so
Okay,
use it
Nikolai.
greater or
Alright,
bad use.
so here's where my take on expressing such knowledge, because I just hosted a class before this paradigm shift, is that first off, like the way how I express it is that first off I like write in two different ways. First off, I write the way how my mind is going off through like the mind, and like if I were to like think random thoughts, which is the right hemisphere's way, I just write off whatever's thinking in there, and then after that, when I go back and reorganize it with the left brain, I start writing it in certain ways that to different people that I want to express. And then next thing you know, like whenever I use my two brains together, when I put things together, I begin to make sense. So I write another one and say, this is how this works. That's what I did when it was AJ, and he was like, he enjoyed it, you know. And there's many other ways. Like for example, when you do music, the best thing that I can tell you, if you want to do both hemispheres, is to learn to use both of them. The problem is, the reason why I'm telling you this is because many people use their right hemisphere where they experience so many things, but they don't even bother using the left. That's what happens when I was a 4-year-old, and to 10 years of age, that's when I finally learned how to express it in academic terms. It wasn't until I was 15 that's when I began to really regain back that right side again, and that's when I began to be more balanced and can be able to write like extreme amount of papers and still be able to generate a lot of ideas. It comes from you using both brains. Really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, if I
Well,
can touch upon what Michael said. Go ahead if
Brett.
anyone else is. Okay. Yeah, just about what Michael said about the whole process of trying to express what you experienced. It can definitely be a challenge just because an experience in of itself isn't entirely made up of words, and it's a matter of being able to translate that experience into another language, and at times it doesn't really feel like you're doing the experience justice, and like Michael said, you feel like you're losing the experience because you're transforming it onto a different medium. And just from my personal perspective, I got like this wonderful advice that's really close to me that I'm almost like hesitant to part with, but just to share it. It's more metaphorical and abstract, but when you're trying to like share something, don't listen to what your mind is saying. Just try to speak from your heart, because from my experience, the heart knows what you're truly feeling and will translate it smoothly in most of the cases that I've have been through. I don't know, that's just like my 2 cents from my perspective on it. But yeah, totally, the experience in of itself is really hard to translate into language just because it consists of so many different facets. But yeah, that's all I really...
Wait, Derek, there's another way you can do this. This is something that I experiment on my own. This is also how I like help myself achieve enlightenment and help others do the same. First off, just like every other experience, just like every other emotions, try to hold that emotion, that thing, like as though you're holding a grudge against someone, and then draw it out. Draw it out like as though you are drawing a spell on that person. And then once you do that, look back at that spell that you just drew and say, is that how it looks like? And then after that, like, you look at it and you just say, wow, I kept a record of my own emotions. That's how you come back and make references to your enlightenment. That's how you stay in touch with it. It's like writing a diary.
Yeah.
It's that easy. It shouldn't take that hard for anyone.
Well, I can understand that perspective totally, but sorry, just one last thing I'm going to say. I just find it easier to not delve on the emotions, not hold on to them. I myself personally like to let go of things and live in a state of I don't know how to say it, maybe like fluidity, and not just get something set in stone inside of me. Though what you said about journaling, I find that's like a really awesome way to like put down any stray thoughts that I have and just like get it out of me, just to be as clear as possible and not have those thoughts like fly around in my headspace, if that makes any sense. But again, like I'm sure there are many methods, and I'm just sharing mine. And I'm really grateful that you're sharing yours. I'm sure in the future I'll be able to tap into that when the need arises.
There are
I
many
was
methods
just gonna
to
say.
journal.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Okay. So there's definitely many methods of doing that kind of process.
200, I'm sorry.
I think one of the awesome things
5780.
to remember, though, is that whatever process you go through, it's
57854 Alta Ben Avenue.
not to shun away this potentially negative experience,
This one.
but
to the Walmart.
Okay, I'm hearing AJ talk, but what I was trying to get at was whatever method you're doing of kind of processing through the stuff you're going through, to recognize that that's an opportunity for you to do shadow work, right? So it's nice to want to get it done and over with, and get it out of us. But it's a process of integration. It's bringing light to that which we don't really understand, and that's causing some undue conflict with us. So, if whatever process we're doing to bring to a little understanding as to why we were dealing with this darker aspect with us, to reconcile that and make peace with that, so that we're not judging it or trying to get rid of it, rather embracing it fully.
Wow.
So that once it's a part of you, you can never again be scolded by it, because you'll know it intimately. You'll recognize it. If it were to try and play out, you would catch yourself. So that's the objective of doing the shadow work, is it's integration. Because when you have that step done, then manifestation and going about your life becomes a heck of a lot easier, because you're dealt with a lot less resistances.
Yes.
So I just thought I'd throw that in.
Also, there's a really good authentic relating shadow work game.
We did play that.
We did play that before, and it was interesting.
Okay.
But we don't have to play it right now. But
I was just gonna say something. It's in total
seriously.
synchronicity that what Joel said. Believe it or not, I was watching Spider-Man 3 today, and this movie is just a really good perspective on somebody really, because if anyone's familiar with Spider-Man, basically his uncle died, and in Spider-Man 3 they really get into like what happened in his darker side. Basically he wants revenge, and certain things starts coming back to him, and it's because he's holding this grudge that he keeps having nightmares about what happened to his uncle and everything, and you really do see him go into his darker side. But as soon as he gets to the guy, basically the Sandman, and talks to him, as soon as he says, "I forgive you," the Sandman just fades away into this basically sand or dust. I mean, it's just, if you really watch the movie from that perspective, it really does get into exactly really what Joel was saying and everyone else was saying. But as soon as he said, "I forgive you," he just faded away into basically sand, or into the wind. So
you realize the futility of opposition when you do that.
That was really cool. I'd seen that show, but I had never really thought of it like that. I do remember that he did, but
I didn't thought of that either.
Anyway, but yeah, he just like blew away in the sand. He was still, he was still around, but that's so cool. I never really thought of that. That's really awesome.
I didn't. I mean, when I watched the movie, I never really thought about that until later on, you know, because I mean, I wasn't necessarily on this level that I am now with understanding and everything, but it was just like when I watched it today, it totally just made sense that this whole movie is basically going into the psychology of basically Spider-Man's shadow, which, you know, that's why he has the black suit, which you call it his stealth suit, but I mean, you see Spider-Man doing some amazing things, you know. He of course has Mary Jane, but he gets with this other chick and he learns to dance, you know, and just all these interesting things. You just see a whole other side of Spider-Man, you know, and it's just, I thought that was really kind of synchronicity with everything that we're talking about, so
Yeah,
I just wanted to share that.
I think the word you're looking for is like iconic. It's just like a very iconic imagery.
Yeah.
Totally, I totally had that same experience, like with the movie, not the movie, the Disney cartoon.
Dark
Um,
Crystal?
no, Beauty and the Beast. And you know, because it's really all about this movie talks about this you know this you know girl finding this castle and this just monster living in there. But once you know put an iconic kind of lens and start looking from that perspective, you really start realizing that the beast is really kind of like the dark side of the man, and you know she you know at the end of the story, you know you know she completely falls in love with the beast, and you know the beast kind of you know this imagery of the beast completely dissolves and it becomes you know like a normal guy, and you know it's not really, I mean, if you're looking at it from an iconic way, it's just like again coming back a human being, you know, nothing more powerful than another human being, you know.
Right. So, Bonnie, are we going to play Shadow? Or,
I don't know. I kind of gave up.
I can't wait to even
I
mean,
would say the Guru.
if
I
we
mean,
were
we've
gonna,
done plenty of shadow work, you know.
yeah, I don't really feel like
Classes.
playing. I definitely don't feel like playing the Shadow game right now. I was just saying that it exists for like the future. I also wanted to point out that
To see the
if
light side.
you are looking for good shadow work things to do, lighting a candle and sitting with it and inviting your shadow and saying, "Hi, Shadow. I invite you into this space to be present with me. And what can I learn from you? How can I hear you? What is at the core of what you are, and how can I hear you and how can I learn what I need to learn, or what do I need to learn from you?" And just be with it. See what happens.
I've got a worksheet that I created from, basically it was one of Teal's videos. One of her least favorite ones, apparently, but from people in Teal Tribe, but I thought it was really good. And it's got like 6 different columns that you can use to identify different aspects of yourself through other people, and then come to a conclusion of what you need to work on with yourselves. But yeah, it's really neat. If you want that, I'll send it to you. It's in document format.
Sure, yeah, I love it.
Well, one thing that, as far as like letting things go, that I always like, I would spoiler this FPS for first-person shooters. It was a video game, basically kind of like Call of Duty, but I was a member of the squad, and there was one guy on there, and he was a Buddhist. His name was Moon. that was just his call sign or what have you. But the story that he told was just absolutely incredible. And the way it went was like these two Buddhist monks was going from one monastery to another, and they had to go through several towns. And the whole thing is when they were preparing to go, they meditated for quite some time before they went, and they weren't supposed to interact with anybody or touch anything, and just walk straight through from one monastery to the other. Well, they walked for about 25 miles once they left the monastery of a full journey, and they've come upon the first town. They walked on through. People looked at them. They didn't say anything. They just kept going. About halfway through, they come to a next town, and it was starting to rain. And this woman in this nice dress, she walked outside and saw that it was raining and put up her umbrella, but the mud had already gathered on the ground. And she was looking across the street. Well, one of the monks went over and offered his hand. She took it. He picked her up and carried her across the street and set her back down and kept on going. Well, they went on about another 3/4 of the way through their journey, and this other monk that had watched the event was just scratching his head. And they got almost about 10 miles away from the monastery that they were supposed to go to. And this other monk finally had to break down and say, "Look, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why did you pick that woman up? We were not supposed to touch anybody. We weren't supposed to interact with anybody, but you just picked up that woman and carried her across the street." He said, "Yes, I carried her across the street, but you carried her all the way to here."
Oh, that's just so funny.
And that's just the story of, how Buddhist monks think. It's like, yeah, he just let her down. As soon as he picked her up and carried her across the street, he put her down. That was it. He dropped it. He let it go. But the other one, he carried on and carried on, and he wouldn't let it go. He had it as part of it in his mind. He wouldn't drop it. So that's just a lesson in, just letting stuff go.
That's true.
That was one funny joke you ever taught me, Tony.
It's
Bonnie,
a joke, but it's not as much a joke as it is like a parable, like lesson to be understood and recognized as such, because there is wisdom in it. It's like a monk. Well, I guess is what you would call it. But yeah, the wisdom is in the story.
Just like that teacup story.
Dude, no wonder why marriage is such a burden. Sometimes no wonder why people say that. That's why I was laughing so hard.
You're starting to sound like the Joker, Andy. But I don't know, Bonnie. Were you thinking about going back to that Guru game, or?
I don't know. I give up. I'm pretty tired. I'm about to go to sleep actually. But if you guys want to play, you can play it.
So how is the game played exactly? So we can do this in our regular life.
One person is, well, there's other games that are good for in your regular life, but I guess this one's, well, so basically one person, everyone takes turns being the guru, but so one person is the guru, and you take a moment to like drop in and let them like connect with their inner guru, and then everybody else, like popcorn style, ask them questions, but the guru doesn't have to necessarily know the answer, but they speak as if they are an all-wise, knowing guru, like they know everything. And so other people ask the guru questions like that you legitimately like want to know, like questions that you actually
are relevant, right?
Yeah.
Relevant to whatever. And you know what? The reason why that's good, and just from my observation, I feel like I feel like the answer is within sight of all of us, and so what it does is it forces us to connect with that source, and just to let it go, and without thinking, it just be a part of us. A lot of people don't realize that they have that within inside of themselves. So I think that that's a really good exercise, and I think that's a really good game to play. And I think we should probably keep this going at some level.
You're like, and we need to play this fucking game.
I think that we need to. Let's say
it is a really cool game. Yeah, it's some of the questions. It's like, well, of course, you can just make up whatever you want. You don't have to.
Oh, Guru.
You're all
Who's your
know
diaper daddy?
whatever
Who's
you
your...
say is what's true. It's just like you say, well, actually, Mars at one time was a planet that was alive and flourishing, and there was a huge volcano, and it blew up, and like flowers flew out of it and landed on Earth, and the seeds that was formed created man.
All right, I'm gonna be back.
Much longer I can stay. So I have to.
Are you guys playing a game right now?
No.
Just giving.
Can I bring forward a topic I was gonna ask Skull earlier, but I'm not sure if he's even in the call at the moment.
Oh, he's
it's just
there.
about the
He's
radio. Oh, okay, cool. I'm pretty sure it was near like the end of the radio show, and it was something Michael mentioned about the Gnostic ritual that he attended. There was a moment, I'm not sure, the call was getting cut in and out and whatnot, but he started mentioning like menstrual blood about the cake, about the cake having it in it, and him saying that that was crossing the line. I would just like to know, like from his perspective, why that in particular is crossing the line when there's like discussions of other taboo topics. And
no,
in
I
the following
think he
weeks,
was
I'm
kind of joking. Like he just wasn't
Oh,
expecting.
okay.
He just wasn't expecting it, and for me, I was just kind of telling what happened. I was like,
yeah.
I was just trying to
That
be
makes
real.
a lot more sense.
I'll
It
answer
makes a
that.
lot more sense to me. Okay.
Yeah, like Nick, I guess I wasn't even saying crossing the line in the traditional sense, because I guess when we say crossing the line, people have said like this is okay and this is not okay, and there's a line in between that. I was using the term more in the idea of like, oh, we just crossed into new territory, sort of thing. You know, be like, oh, we've never talked about eating menstrual blood before. Whoa, this is new. Like that's what I would.
And that's what I felt, and that's what I appreciated.
I'm sorry, I missed the show tonight.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like you were scared, you know, of it.
No, it was just like, what? Like,
and that was awesome because when you hear it in that.
And I was pretty sure like you chuckled right after saying that, but
Yeah.
again, my call was cutting in and out, so I wasn't sure if it was on like a serious note or not. So, yeah.
Well, to be honest, that is something that one should be talking about in every esoteric school. It's about menstrual blood.
But it has become a taboo.
It's nothing taboo, Michael. In fact, I personally saw that in Tantric Buddhism. They do that the same way. That's nothing
They
new.
do, but I'm just saying if you just ask a woman at Sprouts or something, you know, can I have some menstrual blood? You know, she'll probably slap you. You know, I'm just saying we're working on it.
Yeah.
If you ask menstrual blood into that, or if you ask one of those people instead, they'll give you plenty, man. I'm not joking. I've seen it before, so that's nothing new.
I'm just saying it hasn't become the norm yet. It's
to this country, yeah.
So wait, like, other than symbolic ritual, are there benefits to people drinking menstrual blood?
Yes.
Yeah, there definitely are. I didn't get any because it was like a little piece of cake, you know. But there definitely is, like, especially if you take it under the tongue more so, kind of like the thing. They say, well, if you.
Where are you getting that? Where is this information coming from?
Honey is just so out of
I feel like it's
okay. You know, like if a person took acid or something, right? you don't swallow it, like you put it like under the tongue because it goes like straight
Oh,
to
yeah.
the nervous system. So it's like the same
Yeah,
thing.
like the
It's
bloodstream.
like you could either taste it through the tongue, which would go to your digestive system, or you can put it under the tongue and it'll go straight to the nervous system. And that's really the effect that I believe people are really talking about. Does that make sense?
But I feel like that makes a lot of sense because like it goes straight into the bloodstream and whatnot. But I feel like it's more of a spiritual effect other than a physical because at a base level, I'm not sure what like the chemistry components of the substance is, but it's probably mostly blood. I'm not sure. I'm no expert whatsoever. I don't even have like intermediate knowledge on it.
I mean, it
All
just
I know
going
is
into
that,
your
like,
digestive system doesn't really do much. That's why they say.
Yeah, it probably like breaks down in the acid.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like a person trying to swallow
That
acid or
makes more
something.
sense.
Well, from what I understand, if you look at it in the context of the ritual, she was supposed to have been invoking the goddess. So if you take a part of the goddess and place her under your tongue, there's a Wiccan creed that says you can look forever throughout the world, over every mountain and every forest, to find me, but you will never find me until you search within. And I think that really has to do with like spreading the invocation of the ritual by the symbolism of it. So you're basically taking in the goddess and absorbing her nature.
She was representing
It's very interesting.
the Scarlet Woman. You know, I mean, that's what she was. She was on the altar. You know, she unrobed herself, and it's basically the. But I want to say that it was so pure. It was almost just like, and you know, I mean, she was married. You know, but the thing is like, it was so pure because you know, there's like I don't know, 15. It was a mix, of course, between men and women, but there's so many people there that I mean, it's just like almost a respect and an honor for her having the courage and being able to expose herself like that to portray or really take on the role of, you know, the divine feminine. That's it. It's a respect.
You know, Michael, after you told me about that, I was like, you know what, next week I'm going to come to the Gnostic Mass. Because
Yeah,
I want to
I
see that, dude. Not joking. I want some nude here.
That's not
Michael.
the point.
Yeah, Michael,
I
you
asked
mentioned
you to go,
during the
Andy.
talk.
You know this, and you rejected it, bro.
I was like, dude, is that all? If you have nude in there, I was like, okay, I think he's telling the truth. I'll come next time.
Michael, you mentioned during the talk like a really beautiful point. You said that there was a level of spiritual maturity in that room, and I feel like that's like key to that whole ritual scene because if you go in there with the whole conditioning of the societal norm where like flesh and body is viewed as sexual objects and it like brings out the desire and you don't like look deeper into the meaning of what that like symbolizes. I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to articulate
the
what I'm
spiritual
trying to
maturity is
communicate.
you got to realize. I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, you realize, like, that's another person there with feelings and emotions. She has a breast. You either have breasts or you just have nipples. But I'm saying that's another person there with feelings, emotions. It's not an object. This is something that you have a deep amount of respect and admiration for. You cannot do with her what you will, you know. I mean, she is standing in her divine feminine, and if she, you know, men take their shirts off all the time.
I bet it was beautiful.
I know, Tony. Even I can sense it right when he was telling me. So therefore, I was like, what if I can be able to come to that mass and be able to go into her house?
You know I invited you.
It's definitely a sacred ritual, and I think that is very important to keep in mind.
Something about
I feel
sacred.
like that's key.
It's like it's an appreciation of love that it's just you. It's just where you appreciate something. You know, you're not gonna touch it or anything, but it's just like, I don't know, a beautiful swan or something. It's a symbol, and it's just like you having respect for that. And if you're at that level, you break. It shows that you're mature. You're mature enough not only to be with another partner or say whatever, but you respect women as a whole. And I think, damn, I'm not really starting to sound like feminist right now, but like, you respect women as a whole.
Nothing
Like,
wrong with that.
yes. And because it's been so repressed and
I
suppressed.
don't think you should feel like you need to classify that you sound like a feminist for saying respect women as a whole.
Oh no, but I just want to say, like, okay, maybe that didn't sound like, it's just you. It just shows if you do that and you go in there with that mindset, you respect women as a whole,
Yeah.
whole, like,
Yeah.
and realize that that is what you came from, you know. And it's kind of like Skull said with the whole womb thing. That thing almost made me teary. I've never heard someone say something like it's almost like being back at the womb. Because, I mean, really at the womb, like, you've made no mistakes.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
I wasn't talking. I was talking to somebody here. I'll go ahead and mute my mic.
Oh, well, I was just saying, like, basically when you're in the womb, you know, you've made no mistakes. You know, at least, you know, you're that kind of like, I guess, Anakin in Star Wars. It's just like you're just into this world and you really don't know that much about it. And you're just innocent. And I mean, that's really kind of what I looked at it with the woman there. It's just like, yeah, you know, she was attractive and everything, but it was like almost an innocence of, you know. And it's interesting that I'm seeing that for someone that's calling themselves the whore of Babylon, you know, but I saw it.
Well, you gotta understand Crowley's mentality on that. Because we are talking about the limbic tradition. It was an OTO ritual, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Well, with Crowley, he does. Even though he calls her the whore of Babylon, she's pissed, you know, because of this patriarchal society that has pretty much shut out the idea of the goddess. In his mentality, she is not exactly happy about it, except for those people who, you know, recognize her as part of the whole. So, in that essence, she is the whore of Babylon, because whenever people start expressing that feminine nature, it does wind like he was talking about, coming to a more of a feminist mindset to combat the years of the masculine. But that's still in error, because you have to balance that out between the masculine and the feminine, and both are recognized as holy and sacred. But yeah, the whore of Babylon shows up, from what I can see, as repressed expression and repressed energy, and people wanting to express that and doing so however they want to, you know, and just trying to say, look, this is what I believe, this is how I feel, this is what you're going to take it, I'm going to stuff it down your throat, and you're going to enjoy it, you know, that type of thing. But that's not right, you know. It's not the right way to do things. You have to integrate it into your ideas and how you're living, and show people that balanced way, and show the masculine and the feminine at the same time. But it's so like almost habitual for us to meet force with opposing force, or even more so, we've been conditioned with to combat that or to push that back. And you know, you like you have fire, you put it out with water. You know, if you have a patriarchal dominated society, you take it to a feminist society and repress that back,
But
which
then
is
that
really cool.
is just the
What's
other
happened
side of the
as far
coin.
as, like, women being more able to express themselves. I mean, not very long ago, women couldn't even have show their shins. You know, even in America, they had bathing suits that looked like pajamas. You know, so
Damn.
it really has opened up as far as women's rights goes, and that's just recent. And men's rights, as far as that is concerned, and our being able to express our feminine, metrosexual, whatever label you want to put on it, is starting to come to fruition as well. But we have to be careful and keep a balance there.
Mm-hmm. It's both the balance of, you know, the divine masculine and divine feminine. You know, because in a planet of duality, you do need both. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, being able to see that in... The interesting thing, though, is that it all came back to pretty much one word, and that was love. And so even though, you know, all that we're doing, and yeah, it's the OTO, and, you know, we're doing this, and, you know, the woman's, you know, and we're eating this, and all that. But it all came, it all was really about going back to just like unconditional love. You know, it's just like the rituals and everything are just little metaphors to help you see things in a interesting, or, you know, maybe just a different perspective that maybe you were taught or you thought things were, you know, to be, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
I have been in another world for the last little bit.
Were you smoking again, Bonnie?
You're fine, Michael.
No, I'm just not paying attention tonight. I'm tired. I might go to sleep in a minute.
Well, you know, Tony's been working on your design.
Tony's amazing.
I think when you see it, you're really gonna be happy.
Oh, I showed it to her.
Oh,
you're talking about the flyer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the... Oh, wait, that's your Facebook. Are you talking about the flyer or the logo thing?
Oh, the flyer, definitely, but...
Just the first draft, not the final, but just the flyer.
Yeah, the flyer doesn't have to be elaborate. Just to say free instead of $15. Anyway, I think, yeah, Tony's gonna get a part-time job from Bonnie's flyer making.
That is awesome.
I do enjoy it. I lose track of time.
So if you guys are wondering what we're talking about, I'm going to be doing Wednesday evenings Qigong in the park, in Zilker Park meditation thing.
You're beginning this week?
No, next week.
Oh, okay. I was like, I'd be there. I wonder if I could take a bus down there.
Yeah, you can. There's buses.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah, I kind of figured you didn't want that that guy in the bottom left-hand background. It was cool, but it just, I don't know, it was like, who's this?
No, I don't want some dude in the bottom background.
Okay. Yeah, I just kind of phased that out.
Who's this? But yeah, believe it or not, the first thing when I got to that OTO lodge,
Hi,
there
Mark.
were,
Sorry.
there were
I
little
just saw
kids.
someone who was here.
Oh, hi, Mark.
What were you saying, Michael?
There were little kids and they were playing a card game, and I was just like, "That's not Pokemon, is it? That's not." Believe it or not. And the little kids were participating in it too, you know.
What
They
was
drink.
it they were playing?
They were playing Pokemon.
Oh, it was Pokemon.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, cool.
The people there really weren't that old. They were talking about different things, and they're like, well, with nature, I used to look at everything as just like peaceful and beautiful and everything, and I was like, well, yeah, I look at it that way too, or and then it was like, but then I started, getting like working with Venus flytraps. I saw another side of nature. So it's.
And then a hurricane rolled through.
Oh yeah. So that is the thing about nature. It's like there's two sides.
I feel like it would be nice to have some kind of like way that we acknowledge people when they come in here. Like,
Yeah, I normally do that. I'm glad you did that with Mark. Yeah, that's how we met Michael Lloyd. He just came in here and he wasn't talking or anything. He was really shy, and I started talking to him on the chat for most through the Hangout, and then he finally started talking. So yeah, that's the way.
As you know, this is Mark, and as you know, I'm not shy.
Oh, hey Mark.
Oh.
I'm Tony.
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Yeah,
Oh, I
I
remember
called
from
into
the
your
show,
show
dude.
tonight, and then I thought I would check this out and see what this was all about. And I've been listening for a little while and couldn't get in, and was finally able to. So I'm here.
Well, welcome to the Hangout.
Anything particular for you tonight, Mark?
Come well.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you a question, actually?
Sure.
I was listening for a stretch of time fairly regularly to Kate's show, and I haven't been lately. I was curious as to, because as I was listening, I know she's been doing it for a couple of years with amazing dedication. The sort of subject matter, kind of like where she's at with things, is sort of evolves over time, and so every time that I kind of jumped back in, it was kind of somewhere else. And in the next chapter, I was kind of wondering, what is she tackling now, or what is she kind of conveying now as, like bigger concepts or whatever?
Man, I wish I could answer that intelligently. I just joined and began listening about a week ago, and I've never had any real exposure to any of this. So my prior background was in the field of psychology, and I've studied religion, and I had some exposure to the New Age, concepts. So I had some intellectual endeavors, but what I'm experiencing now, and I believe the reason why I am at the table with Kate, is because this is part of what's happening to everyone. That there is as I mentioned, on your show earlier tonight, that this is the expansion, this is the quickening, and so everything that everyone's been searching for in various ways is coming to fruition. Evil is destroying itself from within. And so that's what I'm hearing, and there's been someone in particular that I mentioned on the show tonight that came to the table just a couple of days after me this past week, named Clay, that's in England, in the UK, and he, I don't know him, but when I hear him speak, everything he says resonates with me. If you've never heard Clay, you need to really tune into the show and listen to Clay. You need to connect with Clay because he's beautiful. He speaks truth, as far as I'm concerned.
I remember that the prominent overarching theme of Kate's show is definitely about breaking down the allegories that are all the stories and myths and religion and what it all is really saying, and breaking it down through the words, language, definition, the story behind the story, and all that. And then I saw that more, I guess, in more recent times, this is really hitting home the whole bit about the legal name as really the binding piece that holds
Yeah, it's the linchpin, as I
society
understand it, behind
together
everything.
as
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say I know where you're going, and it's the linchpin, as I understand it, behind everything. I don't know that. All I'm saying is that I know that everything that I'm hearing resonates with my spirit. So not being versed in all of this, it's hard for me to conceptualize it and intellectualize it, which is really a good place to be because I'm receiving it on a level that most people aren't able to receive it.
True.
I think
Unless
that's
they're
actually
open
why
to
I think that's why I drifted actually for a while now. Occasionally, kind of check in, was because it really is a lot of material in the intellectual domain, and then kind of like how you process that into spirit. Because I guess I was going through a time where I wanted to bring a bit more practicality into the world, with fully abandoning these physical shells that we're inhabiting, and to bring some applicability to what she was teaching and bringing forward.
Well,
And sometimes
here's I can address that because here's the applicability. Okay, that's where Clay just came in a couple of days after me, and Clay, what he's bringing to the table is the applicability. If you ever listen to Clay, he will be able to lay it out to you and connect all the dots. Okay, it's like listening to the Christ. I mean,
well,
this
let
sounds
me connect.
crazy,
Yeah,
but he's just another, as Kay puts it, another point of view. Okay, so, but
yeah.
he's not some sort of, we're not. It's not about following anyone. It's about just recognizing what what's present.
That's
And,
well
and
said.
yeah.
And just to momentarily live vicariously through you, Mark, what would be a shining example of what he's brought forward for practical application of Kate's wonderful teachings?
Say that again.
I was just saying, what would be one shining example of his practical takes
Go outside
onto the...
tomorrow. Go outside tomorrow. Pull off your rubber soles and connect with the earth. Okay. Just simply, forget about everything else and just simply take in all the nutrients that the earth has to offer. And just don't wear shoes. Just get out in the garden, get out in the forest, get out with nature, and really connect. That's one very real application.
Well, that's an awesome one. I like that one every morning, as long as we don't have snow falling outside yet.
I find that most people that are in these circles that I've discovered recently are indeed connected with the earth in a way that most people aren't. So I found myself over the last few years, I moved out of an urban city and moved to the countryside and purchased 3 acres, and I wanted to learn how to garden, grow an organic garden, and I've expanded it every year. I'm up to like an acre, and I give away like 90% of it to homeless shelters and women's shelters and that sort of thing. And it's just a beautiful experience, and I do it all in my bare feet. And I did that without knowing anything. Okay, it was just something that I did. And so to hear someone speaking about it now from the knowing, from the one, okay, it confirms everything. And I mean, I'm just humbled by the whole experience.
Actually, that's the beauty of all of this is that when it becomes your experience, that is truly when it becomes tangible. So information is not power, or knowledge is not power. It's knowledge applied is
Or
power.
practical
Because
knowledge.
uh, how can anyone sort of, put forward their thoughts, or kind of lay down this is how it is, without actually having had experienced it. It's just an idea in their mind.
Yep.
Until it's actually corporealized in some way, it can never go beyond an idea. How can you have a true passion behind something unless you've carried and moved it forward yourself with your own might? How could you rally anyone behind you or stimulate anyone before you without that passion that you can only get by being truly connected to something, by being one with it? That's why I don't like getting caught in too much theory, and bring it down to earth for sure.
Totally. There's a good Bruce Lee quote that says, I think it's like, knowing is not enough, we must do,
Yeah.
and we must apply. Something, yeah, it's something like that, but it totally brings that to mind, because I'm like, okay, like, you hear in certain things in biblical texts in certain places, just like, well, love love thy neighbor as thyself. But how many of these people are actually practicing this? You can have some people, say this and chant this, but you talk to the person, they're an asshole. So I mean, it's just um, it really needs to be
Well,
practiced.
that's the whole can of worms, because they put in some nice shiny truths there, and then masquerade around that with a hell of a whole lot more of misinterpretations and lots of bullshit. So
It does make sense.
I think the most important thing that you can really do is live it. Okay, read the theories, gain the knowledge and everything, and if you resonate with it, live it. If you're a magician, live your art. If you're a musician, live your art. If you're just a truth seeker, live that art. Live. Don't just talk about it like Michael calls talking heads, but do it. Actually live your art. Live your truth.
I mean, it is a little corny, but it's from a movie called it's a real cool, fun little movie, kind of like a teenage kind of movie. It's a kind of an old school movie. It's called Fast Times at Richmond High.
I remember that.
And basically, there's the group of guys there. Basically, they're just chilling at the table and they're rolling dice. And the guy that works at whatever burger place or where comes by, and he's like, "Hey, you guys had shirts on before you came in here." And then he reads the sign. It's like, "No shirts, no shoes, no dice." And then and he's like, okay, I'll put my shirt on. And then he's like, good, learn it, love it, live it. It's totally like the whole, the
I
whole.
wasn't sure where that was going, but I caught it at the end.
Well, basically the whole thing. I'm just saying, just learn it, love it, live it. The whole, basically, just become.
If you're in this bang, it's 1 o'clock. I mean, okay, good.
Oh, good. Basically becoming, kind of like water. It becomes the cup, becomes the teapot, become the practice, become the qigong. You do these practices so much that you don't really have to say that you practice this. That you become that. So you're one with the practice.
What's at the core of the practices?
I don't know. Wait, what?
It's
What
just
practice?
another way to connect to one.
What?
Any practice.
Yeah.
Any practice, regardless of what it is it's not just another way to channel you into connecting with oneness through the vessel that is you.
Mhm.
And it's just like different flavors. So you find the flavor that you like to do it by.
There's a good movie.
Flavors.
Have any of you guys ever seen Groundhog's Day?
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept. I mean, it's definitely a cool movie, but it's an interesting concept. Is that what if, like, the thing is that what we call life is that really we have so many days, but it's really just one day, and you're basically every day is the same day, but you just learn to live it without less mistakes. Like if you
Yeah,
watch that movie,
that's all there is, man. That's exactly, you're saying it, okay? That's all there is. There is only one day. There is only the now. Okay? So, yeah, perfect.
well, yeah, I mean, does that make sense? Like that's the way that it's just like what if really, because if you in the movie Groundhog's Day, you know, you see him, he steps in the same puddle every day. He gets into an argument with his neighbor. He wants to ask this girl out, and she rejects him or yells at him or whatever. But you notice after he starts getting the hang of it, and he starts doing things differently, and pretty soon he begins to master, you know, pretty much one day. And I think that's really what it is that we're helping each other move through this reality in a lot smoother and in an alternative way that brings the benefit to kind of everyone around us.
Did any of you tune in and hear the discussion on Kate's show about the movie Edge of Tomorrow? It's the same concept. There's a lot of anagogics in that film. Has anyone watched it, or does anyone have anything to say about it?
Afraid not.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, The Edge of Tomorrow. You know, he's going through in basically, and what one of the most interesting things I found about the film is that has anyone seen the film?
No.
I haven't. That's interesting though.
Yeah. Well, just watch the
Yes,
film,
totally.
and I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say, you know, I'll just say the most interesting thing is there's a mention of there's the J Squad in the film, and I thought whenever they mentioned the J Squad, I thought about, you know, the Christ and Jesus, you know, and it was just interesting that it was called the J Squad, but there's a whole lot in that movie, and it relates to um, what Michael was just talking about with Groundhog Day.
Brendan, did you go
That's
see that?
interesting.
Michael, it sounds like you're talking about two things, though.
Tomorrow?
You diverge from the original. Because if you're like repeating the same thing day in, day out, really what you're doing is you're developing mastery over something,
Yes.
as opposed to this sort of sharing concept before I think we're talking about.
I believe so. I mean, what I was saying, it's kind of like, say like you want to master, say, an instrument or something, though. But the thing is that you do this every day. But the thing is, if you're doing it every day, but it's almost kind of with the mentality like this is your first day. So you do it, and pretty much you go to a piano class for the first time, but you've got like a year's worth of practice. So it's just like that beginner mentality or that humility that I think really makes, you know, the difference, I guess I say, between the master and the person who thinks they know it all and the beginner.
Well, to the master, then it becomes a tool of creation, right? If you're present in the moment, which is really what you're hinting at here, is you've mastered this well that now you can create whatever you want with it, whatever experience you want with it.
Totally. Because I mean, is it not like just a new challenge and challenge what excites us? Because if we were so good at everything, what would there be to learn? You know, I mean, if you were the master at everything.
Well, that's where the concept of finding our own godhood comes in, is because when we realize that we are ourselves creators, right? You become a master of something, you wield the tool so well, you can then just do what God does, you just create something, which is a different way of living and manifesting, as opposed to doing something because you're trying to get away from something that's less desirable. And that's a huge, huge distinction between someone who's walking a spiritual path and someone who thinks that they're making progress.
Now, Teal actually touched upon that in her Spirituality 3.0. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but it is an awesome video.
Actually, she has consolidated what I've been going through for 3 years in such a beautiful piece there that I've really been honoring her a lot for what she's brought forward.
Whenever I saw it, I was like, okay, now I understand, you know, because I was like, it wasn't complete, and I had a feeling that it wasn't, because it wasn't to that point where, you know, it's not like you better yourself by running from your attachments, but you face those attachments and better yourself by moving toward what you want, not what you're running away from.
Sure.
Exactly. I'm actually looking forward to future because she looks like she's taking her game up a notch in terms of unveiling concepts that she hasn't before, and she sort of revealed a little bit about that because she brought up the idea that what if love is not the ultimate force behind this universe, and so it's like she's alluding to something else that she's going to be bringing forward.
Well, Crowley touched upon it as well. What he said was, do what thou wilt, let that be the whole of the law. The law is love, love under will.
That certainly seems more tricky, because like, what is that will guided by? Because
well,
if it's not a disciplined will, well, discipline maybe not the right word, but if it's just sort of random, then you could will horrible things that could affect other people and with non-enjoyable repercussions, or you could do quite the opposite. So what's behind that will? What is it aligned to?
Well, the whole. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it just kind of what I consider of when I think of that is I got this whole analogy of 1 and 2. That 1 existed and then 2 existed. You know, for whatever reasons, 1 became 2, and how whatever, and then the infinite possibilities between 1 and 2, 1.654, 1.92, 1, you know, and so on and so forth ad infinitum. But at one point, 2 had to realize that it came from 1. You know, and in that essence, yes, 2 is a reflection of 1 and has that will, that pure will. But you have to have, once 1 becomes 2, you have to have that love. You have to have that respect of creation. If there isn't that respect of creation, then it leads to destruction. And what's the point of creation if it's going to destroy itself? So that's where love comes in.
Sounds like go back to polarity.
Well, with true will, a lot of people thought of it as just do whatever you want. But when he said will, I mean will is really almost synonymous with like the word dharma. It's kind of like this thing is just like the earth is where it needs to be right now to fulfill its purpose. Or people in an orchestra or something, if you are missing a person to play a particular instrument, the whole orchestra, it doesn't sound right. So it's kind of like in the sense that will, I think, the way that I look at it from what I've understood and from have heard from like many other people, is that the will is really okay, otherwise I wouldn't be here, or so and so wouldn't be here, or we wouldn't be here if we didn't have a purpose to fulfill, or to grow or to expand, or just the same thing as the earth would disappear if it wasn't basically in space where it is, in that sense. So from what I look at it is that like true will is really like, it's more than just a dream or your dreams, but it's really like why you're here, or
Your
kind
blueprint,
of
the
what
blueprint of your soul.
yes.
Yeah, and I like that you brought in Dharma because that just, for me, to relate to that, it sounds like we're all here in the first place because we're aspects of creation, of the Creator, to experience all sorts of things. And then the counterpoint to that is just the return back to oneness, to clearing all these, okay, we were going to experience that and that and that and that. We got it all checked off on the list. Okay, here's the last one. And now let's go back to God. Like literally, let's transcend these dimensions of existence and go back to God. And we're no longer, these separate consciousnesses, which is an interesting idea because I've crossed this before with the teachings of A.J. Miller, who's a really cool fellow to listen to, and he describes those elements of the uniqueness within the dimensional planes, and how within the sixth dimension, if you choose the path of God, of the Creator, that is how you reunify with the other soul half. And it is only through that transmutation that your whole blueprint, if you will, of the soul can become something completely different and completely new. One step closer back to the essence of God. Or you can remain as a separate entity and continue creating and creating and creating all these myriad of forms, variations of separation and unique perspectives and polarities and dualities and whatever else. The sixth dimension is a unique place in that regard. That this where you can make that decision. Do you yourself become a god, or within the universe of God, or do you go back to source, kind of like in the Matrix? and from there, well, I don't think our minds can even conceive of what that would be like. But anyways, this guy really,
The Matrix,
AJ Melly,
return to
really,
source. No, go ahead.
yeah. But this guy really brings forward that really interesting concept. I've actually brought this up to you guys before a long time ago, but I don't know if anyone ever looked into it.
Well, to me, it seems, I don't know, maybe the creation is a moot point if we're learning to be gods, or since we're learning to be gods, and then we return to source. It seems to me like if one ever decided to be many, that one would continue to wish to exist as many because one was alone.
I think it gives you the choice whether you want to have that experience or if you no longer do.
I can see that, but I also see that harmony is a way to manifest many as one, if you will. You know, like join in a circle and be in that source of that oneness, or be in the presence of that oneness that is just undefinable at the moment, but be able to continue to express yourself as an individual, and in the sense that you're aware of the point in space that you're existing in at that moment. But you see, of course, all the people around you, you know, as part of you.
That's true. I mean, because otherwise, why are you talking to them? You know? How are you talking to them? You know, if
You're
something...
doing it for different points of view and to find the peace within yourself. I mean, I can't think of another reason why we have any interactions with anyone at all, other than to find a sense of peace. It's like whatever dramas people cook up. In the end, even the drama itself was just an acting out of a lack of inner peace, and then you try to do something to resolve that, to again create that form of peace. And the problem with as doing that here with these physical bodies in this domain is that it's all very fleeting. We always come back to another opportunity to experience separation yet again. So I guess with the whole Dharma thing, it's like maybe at some point your soul feels like, okay, you know, done with that. And then maybe upon choosing to go back to source completely, maybe there's something there that offers a completely different breed of existence that, again, I said we cannot conceive of because it's just so far removed from where we are. So, just an idea.
I think it's kind of like what we have in our intellectual capacity, and don't get me wrong, I do believe we are limitless and everything, but the true source or God or goddess or whatever you want to call it is so large that we have these little antennas, you know, and we try to get a little grasp of that, and we do, but it's just a piece of something like so much larger that transcends really pretty much all duality. And you know, we can only get a little, you know, kind of like if you have this huge ass cake or something, you know, you're probably not going to finish it all, but you get as much as you can to satisfy yourself. I don't know where that came from, but I'm going to go with you know, like you get as much as you can to kind of satisfy yourself.
I think what you're saying there, what it's telling me is it's a way to make peace with the fact that we are here, experiencing all these diversified degrees of separation. Just to that's what we're here to do in this form, and just to be okay with that. Because that can be hard for people who get, and I know I've been there, for people who get really caught up in the spiritual path, and you almost lose sight of trying to find sight.
Yeah, it's like one to the extreme. There's not as much balance.
Yeah, it's like you're here now, work on this now, and then when you're not here anymore, then cross that bridge when you get there.
Well, total. Well, I mean, because I mean, wouldn't you say that you could, with, say, trying to understand God or something, that you could, you know, you could get, say, a big piece of cake, you know what I'm saying, but you could overeat, you know, kind of trying to understand the mind of God when it wasn't necessarily created really by humans, or if it was created by humans, or whatever it is. It's so large that, you know, your little radio station can only pick up so many channels, but the whole thing is really just too much for one human nervous system to comprehend. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you can only ask.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why the wise man says, "I don't know," because you have to say, "I don't know." There's only so far that you can pursue why. Any question that you ask, you find the answer to of why. Why is that the answer? You know, and then you go on into the path of why, and eventually you're going to come to a point where you cannot answer why. It's impossible.
You get bored of asking that question. Tony, that's so funny. When I was 16 years old, that's exactly what I was doing. And that's when I hit a deep depression because there was no bloody answer. You could not find it. There's no one who could answer that. I was depressed for like 2 years because I couldn't get an answer to one stupid question. What is the purpose of existence? And then people would give me all these sorts of fancy explanations, and I would just ask, well, why?
Oh, that story of my life, man.
And then you got another why come up after that.
Why?
But it's so true. Yeah, you can only ask why so much, and then you just have to accept the fact you don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? When the only thing that actually got me to sort of begin to lift out of that depression was because I couldn't wrestle with that anymore. It just seemed so pointless. So I'm like, okay, I need to make a decision. If I'm going to live, then there has to be meaning here. Otherwise, I'm going to take my life. But my soul, or whatever it was, was telling me every ounce, every cell in my body was saying, no, don't take your life. So even though I thought of suicide, I never had any actual desire to commit suicide. But that in itself made me like, okay, then I need to have a reason for keep going forward. And so I made a decision on that day, 16 years ago, or however the fuck long ago that was, that I'm going to live to be as happy as I possibly can without impinging upon the welfare of others. And that's been how I've tried to live all these years ever since.
I think
Joel,
that helps you
this
appreciate
is Mark,
life.
and I just wanted to say this to Michael and to everyone else is that, you know, maybe I'm coming at this from a different, I think, perspective than most of you, but I think you might agree, maybe not. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know. I believe, I know, really, I do know that the answer to Michael's question is quite simple, and that it is love. It's that simple.
Yes. See, that's what I was talking about earlier, about just the whole, I mean, just as basic as you can get between 1 and 2, without really trying to get into duality, but just the idea of creation being 1 and going into 2. And, okay, at 1, when it was 1, there was only self-love, maybe not even understood as that, because what else would love be except just the wholeness of oneself? And then you get to will, but then you reflect that 1 into 2. So you have 1 here and 1 here that are identical. So what do you come up with? Tyler? You have to have some kind of a universal law there, or a mutual understanding between 1 and 2 for the purpose of existence, or there will be conflict. And if there's conflict, that kind of makes the point of 1 becoming 2 obsolete.
Hey guys, I'm gonna end the live broadcast in the next couple minutes. That's cool.
Oh, okay.
So I do agree with Mark in that sense that
we've been in a conversation.
Love is the answer.
It would make sense. I think the thing is that well, because I'm saying there's a simple
And,
answer, but
isn't it fitting that we're in the age of Aquarius?
Right.
totally. I mean, it's well. See, the interesting thing is, I think that the thing is that because in a planet of duality, I think that the thing is that there's a simple answer, but a scientist or whoever, a real intellectual is going to need a more complex answer. So it's just like there's many answers. Whichever one you resonate or you satisfied with. I'm satisfied with love because I mean that kind of just I think really encompasses life, But in a
Love has many
planet,
answers.
but I think just because I think that a simple answer and a complex answer is kind of just one and the same, just different ways of trying to explain something.
I don't know. There's
Sorry, guys, I was just gonna say, are we cool to wrap this up? I mean, you guys can keep chatting and stuff.
Yes, that's what I was about to do.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tony. Though.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that she was wanting to wrap it up, so we'll start to finish the conversation once you're done.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Okay, cool.
You
That
look
was good
kind
though.
of tired, Skull.
Yeah, no, I am. That's part of the plan is to get some sleep. So, big week, another week ahead of us.
Well,
So.
it's what, 2 o'clock where you're at?
1:30.
1 or 2?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, you guys have a good week. We'll talk to you guys later.
You too, man.
Everyone out there on the internet. So say goodbye to the internet, everyone. So bye, internet.
Da, da,
Until next
da,
time.
Bye, people. Love to see you. So remember that.
Good to meet you.